Hi, welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about camcorders. I actually have 4 of them. This is a standard one from Sony. Now, I want to tell you that these camcorder is still relevant in the year 2025 in certain situations when you're trying to record your family events. I think there's certain feature in these camcorders that you shouldn't throw it away or give it away because I think it's still relevant and it can be quite useful. Let's talk about it right now. Alright, so this camcorder here, the Sony, I believe this model is DCR SR20. This was developed about 15 years ago. I think it was released somewhere 2009, 2010. And I have also a Canon one. This is released in 2010, and I believe the JVC as well is released in 2009. Whereas this one here, another Sony, but this one is really old. This is 2002 and it's using the mini DV. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. Maybe from time to time I'll bring back this camcorders, okay? But this is an old one. This is over 23 years old. And there's certain situations where I use this, but probably not now. Whereas these 3 are, I think, still relevant. Now let's talk about why I think it's still useful in the year 2025 and beyond. I think the main feature of camcorders like this one here is the fact that it's a palm size, right? Everything's controlled with your palm. And you can see here there's a recording button right here where you just press and just go. And I think with these type of camcorders, they last really long. The battery, for example, you can get a bigger one or a standard one, and they last minimum of 2 hours to 3 hours. And if you get the bigger one, it may last 5 hours recording. And there's no recording limits to these camcorders. Now, of course, because they are old type of camcorder, like this one here, this is 2010 camcorders from Sony, they can only record 480p, which is a standard DVD. Now, you probably say, that's too low, right? But you know what? For family events, I think it's okay because you're going to archive it and you can have hundreds and hundreds of hours of these videos, and you have to store it somewhere. Having a smaller size videos, you can store it a lot in, let's say, a hard drive that is maybe 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte. You can record for thousands of hours without any problem. Whereas if you're doing it in 1080p or 4K, I mean, you're going to be running out those hard drives very, very fast, and that could be quite expensive. I know quality could be important. I think for a certain event like wedding or maybe a special event, like a birthday, maybe you want to grab your standard mirrorless camera that you might have. But I think for general purposes, when you're showing your kids growing up, when they're first walking or they're first playing hockey or something like that, I think this is the better choice. Now let me explain why. Now there's certain feature in this camcorder that you may not be able to find in other type of camera, the mirrorless camera, APS-C, micro four thirds, full frame, or smartphone cameras. The one feature is the zoom rocker right here, okay? So for example, this camera can zoom 50 times optically, okay? Optically, not digitally. Digitally, this camera can, well, they claim to do maybe 1800 times, but I would not recommend it. I will actually set it to only 50 times optical zoom. But can you imagine 50 times? So imagine you're watching your son playing hockey or your daughter playing basketball, for example, and you're sitting maybe farther away and you're trying to zoom in to see her or him. And then you do that by this zoom rocker. You zoom in and you can go 50 times. There is no mirrorless camera, unless you want to buy the expensive one, that can do that kind right away and fast and instantly. For sure with smartphone you cannot do that. So this is one feature you'll find in the camcorder that is so essential for family events. And another thing is, this is a perfect V-blocking for father and mother, where you notice the a mic is right here. So usually when you're zooming to your son and daughter playing a game, you'll be talking, right? You'll be saying, oh, look at Jonathan running around with the ball, and he's, oh, whatever. I don't know anything about sports anyway. But anyway, just an example, right? So yeah, that kind of thing is like a narrative from your point of view, a dad, or if you're a mom, yeah, right? And you're talking and then you're zooming in. Now, one thing I recommend, that should put it on a tripod, right? So when you're zooming in, you want to zoom in smoothly and then eventually zoom out, right? Those kind of thing. And the battery on this thing can last for the whole 3-hour game. So with a mirrorless camera, there's, the less expensive one anyway, there might be a 30-minute limit and it might overheat as well. These camera, even though you spend $1,000, you don't realize that when you're recording in 4K, for example, that it can only record maybe for 30 minutes and it overheats, like especially with Sony, right? I have several Sony and many more in the past, and that's one of the main flaw in the Sony camera. It overheat when you're recording for a long time. Camcorder does not experience that. At least in my case, I have 3 of them here, okay? I have the JVC, I have the Canon, and I have the Sony, and none of them overheats. Like I said, the main feature of these camcorder is the optical zoom. Okay, they have an image stabilizer in here as well, but when you start zooming, then for example 50 times, you need a tripod for this. Okay, so even with the image stabilization, I don't think it helps out much. Another feature I like about the camcorder is that you can see, like I said before, that the mic, the stereo mic here, is really good. Whether it is in JVC or whether it is in Canon, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I think the quality of the sound is amazing, and of course the flip out screen. Look at that. Incredible. Camcorder has been around doing this for so long. Mirrorless camera is catching up now, right? And the smartphone, they can't do this. They cannot do a flip up, except unless you want a camera facing you, and I think the camera in the front is actually poor quality than the one at the back of the smartphone. These type of camera has a pretty good sensor, although it's very small. The problem, I guess that would be the problem for these camcorder. You have 1 in 6" or 1 in 5.5, right? It's quite small. Compare that to a APS-C, it's huge, right? So you need a lot of light. That's one thing with these camcorders. So when you're filming, for example, neither you bring flashlight or some kind of light, or that in the event there's a lot of light, especially, hopefully, you make sure that you film during daytime. Sports, you should usually have a lot of lights, right? So you shouldn't have any problem with that. Yeah, and like I said, battery lasts so long that you don't even have to worry about that it run out of battery. The only thing is, of course, make sure you bring a pretty large memory SD card, right? So these ones use the older type of SD card. So the only issue with that is, I think the limit is maybe 64 gig or something like that. And so when you're recording, I guess it wouldn't matter that much because the recording is only 480p, and therefore you can store much more. You're not recording in 1080p or 4K, so I don't think that would be an issue. I think maybe the issue is the fact that when you try to download into your computer system, because it's an older type of SD, so the file transfer would be a bit slower. I think it's going at maybe 10 megabytes per second, compared to the more newer type of card, we can go like 200-300 megabytes per second. Again, depending on the card reader as well. Okay, so these things that you might consider, but again, for what it does, these camcorders, I think it is still going to be part of, let's say, a family's tools to record their kids, right? I think this is still pretty good. Now, other than that, there are some other features that each of the camcorder has a unique feature in. For example, this one here, the Canon camcorder, is actually a 1080p camera, so it can record in 1080p. So this would be the camera I'll probably be carrying around when I'm recording the family events, because I have an option to record in a high resolution 1080p or 480p, right? And it has all the features that the other camera that I have, but it has a higher resolution. But this one is a little bit more expensive than the other two. Okay, this one I actually bought with my money about 15 years ago, around $400 or $500. Where this one I just recently got for a bargain price, really cheap, of course. And then this one my brother gave to me for free. I'm keeping them because it's just a very fun tool to use and very convenient. Zoom in, zoom out. That's one of the features that no other type of camera that is affordable, like $300-400 when you buy it new. I don't even think you can buy these anymore, right? I haven't gone to Best Buy recently, to look for it, but I heard from other YouTubers that these are going to be obsolete pretty soon. And you know, those point and shoot camera, I think it's already been taken out. I don't think any major manufacturer, other than maybe the third party, are still making one. Okay, so point and shoot camera I think is dead, and the camcorder might be next. But for me, you know, this is still awesome tool to have, right? Long lasting battery, zoom rocker, you can zoom in 20, 30, 50 time optical zoom, and that is an amazing feature. You can do first person narrative to the event, so I think it's still going to be an amazing tool to have in your filming, especially filming your family events. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a little heart of appreciation. Now, I forgot to tell you this. This camera here, I had it for over 25 years. Is using the mini DV. It's almost like a cassette player, recording this. So the only way for me to record is to transfer using the FireWire and connect to a specific card that has FireWire card. To do that. So that's why I don't use this as much. But I have to tell you, there's a Sony memory stick card here, and I just found out that there's this video that I recorded my daughter when she was like 1 year old, and the quality was like a tiny little image. Like I think it's like 120p, not even like 1080p. This is like 120. You're talking about less than a standard quality. Like it's like the size of a 2-inch screen. Okay, that's how small this thing is. But you know, the sound was preserved. Then I was looking at the film, even though it was very poor quality, but the image, the thousands of pixels per minute that it tried to capture, just bring back those memory that no money can buy. Okay, I'm just telling you, yeah, this camera, even though it's pretty much obsolete, but the memory that was stored in this memory stick, there's no way in the world I could bring it. If I lost it, I could bring it back. But thank goodness it's still in here, and I cherish it a lot because that part of the memory was most beautiful. Thanks for watching again. I hope to see you soon. Bye.